My family kicked me out for not giving my brother $15,000 who never worked, but when they found out I saved $37,000 in 4 years, I left them speechless, and now they're begging me to come back. I'm 19 years old. I work in retail and have been for about 4 years now, and last week I basically lost my entire family over $37,000 that I refused to give away. I know how that sounds. Like, wow, how selfish. But let me explain the whole story, because what happened is way more complicated than just money. And honestly, I need to get this off my chest, because I still can't believe things ended up like this. I guess I should start from the beginning. When I was like 15 and got my first real job, it was at a clothing store in the mall. You know, one of those jobs where they pay you minimum wage and you have to fold t-shirts all day. But I was super excited because I was finally going to have my own money. Since I was a kid, I always had this crazy idea of someday having my own business. I don't know exactly what kind, but something of my own. Something I built from scratch. My parents always said I was dreaming too big, that it was better to study something safe and get a normal job, but I had this thing inside me, this need to do something different. So when I started working, I made a decision. I was going to save everything I could to someday make that dream come true. I literally set myself a goal, like I'm going to save every last penny I can. And I did it. I mean, I really did it. For 4 years I worked at that place and then got other jobs. Some as a waiter on weekends, another at a gas station during the summer. Basically anything that paid. My friends would go out to parties or buy themselves things, and there I was, working, saving every paycheck I received. I'm not going to lie. There were times I felt bad because I was missing out on stuff. But every time I saw my bank account grow, I convinced myself it was worth it. I still lived with my parents, so I didn't have to pay rent or anything like that, just my minimal personal expenses, and the rest went straight to savings. By the time I turned 19, I had $37,000 saved. 37,000. 4 years of hard work, of sacrifices, of not going out, of not spending on stupid stuff. It was my future sitting there. My ticket to start something of my own. But anyway, to understand why everything exploded, I have to tell you about my brother, Marcus. Marcus is 24, 5 years older than me, and he's basically the perfect son in my parents' eyes. Or at least he was. I don't know how to explain it. Ever since we were kids, he was always the favorite. Like that was obvious to anyone who spent 5 minutes in our house. If Marcus wanted something, he got it. If Marcus screwed up, nothing happened. I, on the other hand, had to work twice as hard to get half the recognition. When we were kids, I thought it was because he was the oldest or something like that. But as we grew up, I realized that's just how things were in my family. Marcus was the golden child, and I was, I don't know, the other son. The thing with Marcus is that he's never worked, and when I say never, I mean never. He graduated high school like 6 years ago, and since then he's been finding his path, or as my parents call it. He's taken some online courses. He's had business ideas that never materialize. Basically, he spends his days playing video games and saying he's waiting for the right opportunity. They say he's going through a process and that we all have our own timing. Meanwhile, I've been getting up at 6 inches the morning to go to work for 4 years, and they've never said, "We're proud of you," or anything like that. It's like my effort doesn't count because I was supposed to do it. But Marcus didn't have to do anything because, I don't know, because he's Marcus. So anyway, about 2 months ago, Marcus found this apartment. A super nice place downtown, like one of those new apartments with a gym and everything. I remember perfectly the day he came home all excited saying he had found his new home. I was in the living room doing college homework. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention I'm also in college, obviously while working, and he came in with my mom and dad showing them photos on his phone. The apartment cost like $1,800 a month, which is crazy considering Marcus doesn't have a job. But my parents were there like, "How beautiful. It would be perfect for you." I looked at them like, seriously? But nobody paid attention to me. For the next few weeks, Marcus talked about nothing else. That the apartment had a view of, I don't know what. That the building was top-notch. That he was finally going to have his own space. At no point did he mention how he was going to pay for it. He just assumed that somehow things were going to work out. I went on with my life, working, studying, not getting involved in his stuff. But then came the conversation, the one that basically destroyed everything. It was a Sunday afternoon. I remember because I had worked the morning shift and had come home super tired, like I just wanted to shower and maybe watch a series or something. But when I walked in, my parents were sitting at the dining room table with Marcus, and my mom said to me in that voice she uses when she wants something, "Honey, come sit down. We need to talk to you." I immediately knew something weird was going on because my dad had that serious face he only makes when things are important. I sat there with my uniform still on, and they started. Basically, it went like this. Marcus needed $15,000 for the apartment deposit and first month's rent. He didn't have that money, obviously, and my parents didn't have it available at the moment either. But, and here's the good part, they knew I had savings. My mom started with the speech about how family supports each other, that when one has and another needs, we share. That's how real families work. My dad added that Marcus was at a crucial moment in his life, that this apartment was exactly what he needed to finally settle down and start being independent, that I was young and would have time to save again. I sat there processing what they were saying. They wanted me to give $15,000 of my savings to Marcus. $15,000 that I had earned working since I was 15. It wasn't a loan, because nobody mentioned anything about paying me back. They simply expected me to give away that money because Marcus needed it. I told them no, just like that. I explained to them that money was for my future, to start a business, that I had worked 4 years for it. My mom immediately changed her tone and started with the guilt trip, saying things like, "I can't believe you're being so selfish with your own brother." And, "When you were his age, he shared his things with you," which was a total lie because Marcus never shared anything. With me. But whatever. The conversation got ugly fast. My dad said that as long as I lived under his roof, I had to contribute to the family, and that this was my way of contributing. I tried to stay calm and explain to them again that it wasn't my responsibility to pay for Marcus's apartment, that he was a 4-year-old adult and that maybe he should, I don't know, get a job like the rest of the world. They didn't like that at all. Marcus wasn't even talking. He was just sitting there with a victim face, like I was the bad guy in the story. After like an hour of arguing, I told them my answer was no and went to my room. I could hear them talking downstairs, voices going up and down, and I was there lying on my bed with my heart beating super fast, thinking about what the hell had just happened. What followed was basically a week from hell. My parents wouldn't leave me alone. Every time I came down for breakfast, my mom would start with passive-aggressive comments like, "Some of us do care about family," or, "It must be nice to have so much money while your brother suffers." My dad stopped talking to me completely except for necessary things. Marcus looked at me with hatred every time we passed each other in the house. I tried to explain my point of view, but nobody wanted to listen. To them, I was the selfish one, the one who was denying help to his brother when he could do it. Like on the 5th day, my mom came to my room and tried to be understanding. She sat on my bed and told me she understood I had worked hard for that money, but that Marcus really needed it and that I was his only option. She told me that Marcus had been depressed, that this apartment was the only thing motivating him, that if I didn't help him, he was going to lose this opportunity, and who knows how much longer he was going to be stuck. I told her I was sorry, but I couldn't give him my money. She started crying, like real tears, saying I was breaking her heart. How could I be so cruel? I felt horrible, honestly, because I hate seeing my mom cry, but I also couldn't just give away 4 years of work. Friday of that week, my parents called me to the dining room table again. This time, there was no room for discussion. My dad told me very clearly, either I gave the money to Marcus or I had to leave the house. Just like that. He gave me until Sunday to decide. I just sat there looking at them, unable to believe what I was hearing. I asked them if they were seriously kicking me out of the house for not giving away my savings. And my dad said he wasn't kicking me out. He was giving me a choice. Marcus was there again, and this time he had a little smile, like he knew he had won. I told them I wasn't going to give them the money and went to my room to process everything. That night, I barely slept. I was lying there thinking about all the options I had. I could give in, give them the money, keep family peace, but lose everything I had worked for, or I could stand firm and lose my family. You know what it feels like to have to choose between your future and your family? It's horrible. Like physically horrible. My stomach hurt and I couldn't stop going over it. But the more I thought about it, the clearer I saw that if I gave in, now, I was going to give in always. I was going to be the one who sacrifices everything for Marcus, again and again. And I couldn't live like that. Saturday, I started packing. I got 3 big boxes from the basement and started packing my things: clothes, books, my laptop, everything important. My mom came in at some point and saw me packing and asked if I was really going to do this. I told her yes, that they had given me a choice and I had made it. She started crying again, saying I was destroying the family. How could I be so selfish that I was going to regret this? I just kept packing. Marcus walked by my room and laughed. Literally laughed and said something like, "Have fun being poor," which is ironic coming from the guy who doesn't have a penny to his name. I called my best friend, the only one who knew the whole story, because I had been telling him everything all week. I explained the situation, and without hesitation, he told me I could stay at his apartment while I found something. He had a roommate, but they had a couch and said there was no problem. I felt enormous relief, like at least I had somewhere to go. Sunday morning, I finished packing, took my boxes down to the car, a 2008 Honda Civic I had bought with my own savings like 2 years ago, and left. My parents were in the living room watching TV and didn't even turn to look at me when I left. Marcus was having breakfast in the kitchen, and when I passed with the last box, he told me, "You'll see what real life is like." The first few days at my friend's apartment were weird. I slept on the couch, had my stuff in boxes stacked in a corner of the living room, and basically tried not to be in the way. My friend and his roommate were super cool with me. They let me use everything and never made me feel bad, but I knew I couldn't stay there forever. I kept going to work, to college. Like my life continued, but everything felt different. It was like I was floating, you know, without a real place to be. Like 3 days after I left, Marcus sent me a message. It wasn't to ask how I was or to apologize. No. It was to tell me that all of this was my fault, that because of my selfishness he had lost the apartment, that our parents were devastated, and that he hoped I was happy ruining everyone's lives. I replied that he had ruined his own life by not working for 5 years and to stop blaming me for his problems. He blocked me after that. I decided I had to protect my money legally. It sounded kind of paranoid, but I didn't trust that my parents wouldn't try something weird. I found a free lawyer at the university. We had a legal aid program for students, and told him the whole situation. He helped me make sure the account was only in my name. I changed all the passwords and security questions and basically did everything possible so nobody could touch that money. The lawyer told me I had done the right thing by leaving, that technically my parents had no right to my money and to keep everything documented just in case. Over the next few weeks, I started looking for apartments. With the money I had saved, I could pay a deposit and several months' rent. No problem. But I wanted something close to the university and work. I found a tiny studio, like really small, like 300 square feet. But it was mine, and that's what mattered. I signed the contract, moved in, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. It wasn't luxury or anything. Literally, I only had a mattress on the floor the first few weeks and ate rice and beans almost every day. But it was my space, and nobody could threaten to kick me out. I also got a better job. An electronics store was looking for people, and they paid like $3 more per hour than my previous job. I applied, they hired me, and suddenly things were starting to stabilize. I was still going to college, working more hours, and slowly my life was taking shape again. I'm not going to lie. There were nights I felt lonely, like really lonely. I missed my family despite everything. I missed having someone ask how my day was. I missed the feeling of coming home and having people there. But I also knew I had made the right decision. Like a month after I left, I started getting messages. First from my mom, saying she missed me and that we should talk. Then from my dad. Basically the same thing. Marcus also tried to contact me, but I completely ignored him. My parents said they wanted to fix things. That family was the most important thing. But never, not once, did they say, "We're sorry," or "We shouldn't have pressured you like that." It was more like, "Enough time has passed, come back home." They didn't mention the money. They didn't mention that they had been wrong. They just wanted things to go back to normal as if nothing had happened. Things got complicated when a family friend, Mrs. Rodriguez, who lives on my old street, contacted me on Facebook. She told me she needed to talk to me because she had heard worrying things. We met at a cafe and she told me that my parents were telling everyone that I had abandoned the family, that I had left home because I was ungrateful, that I had refused to help my brother who was going through a difficult time. Basically, they were painting me as the villain of the story and them as the poor victims. Mrs. Rodriguez didn't believe them at all because she had known me since I was a kid and knew what I was like. That's why she wanted to ask me my version. I told her everything. Absolutely everything. And she sat there in shock, saying she couldn't believe my parents were doing that. That hurt more than I thought it would. Not only had they kicked me out of the house and tried to take my money, now they were destroying my reputation with people who knew us. I realized there was no going back. Like this wasn't something that could be fixed with a conversation or an apology. They had chosen Marcus. They had chosen their version of the story. And I had no place in that narrative. I made a decision. I blocked their numbers, blocked Marcus, blocked all the relatives who had started sending me messages trying to convince me to go back home. I didn't respond to more messages, didn't answer more calls. I just focused on my life, on my work, on college, on my plans for the future. I made new friends, people who didn't know anything about my family or the drama, people who knew me for who I was, not for being Marcus's selfish brother. Now, like right now as I'm writing this, it's been like 3 months since I left home. I live in my small studio, work full-time, study part-time, and I still have my $37,000 saved. Well, a little less, because I had to use some for the apartment deposit and basic furniture, but most of it is still there. I'm working on my business plan, taking online courses about entrepreneurship, and every day I feel closer to making what I always wanted come true. Do I miss my family? Yes. Honestly, yes. But I miss the family I thought I had, not the family they really are. I miss the idea of having parents who support you, of having a brother you can count on, of having that place you can call home. But the reality is that place was never really my home. It was a place where I didn't matter as much as Marcus, where my achievements were worth nothing and my sacrifices were invisible. Last week, I ran into my mom at the supermarket. It was super awkward, like she was in one aisle and I was in the other and our eyes met. For a second, I thought she was going to come talk to me, but she just looked at me, shook her head, and went the other way. I stood there with my shopping cart, feeling that weird thing in my chest, like half sadness, half relief. Sadness because she's my mom, and it hurts that things are like this. But relief because I don't have to hear more guilt trips or more demands that I sacrifice my future for Marcus. I don't know if I did the right thing. There are days I think maybe I should have been more flexible, that maybe I should have looked for a middle ground. I don't know, lend them part of the money or something. But then I remember how they treated me, how they didn't care at all about what I felt or wanted, how they were willing to throw me out on the street for not giving in to their demands. And I realized there was no possible middle ground. They wanted me to give in completely or nothing, and I chose nothing. My friends tell me I did well, that I have the right to live my own life and protect my future. My former roommate, you don't live with him anymore, but we're still super close, told me recently that he was proud of me, that he saw how everything affected me, but that I never gave up. That made me feel good, like really good, because it had been a long time since anyone said anything like that to me. The other day I was checking my bank account, seeing how much I have saved, and making plans for how I'm going to use that money to finally start my business. I don't know exactly what kind of business. I'm between some ideas, but the point is, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take those 4 years of hard work and turn them into something real, something mine. And when I do, when I have my own business running, I'm going to know that I did it alone, without anyone's help, despite everything that happened. I guess in the end, this is about choosing who you want to be. I could be the son who always gives in, who always sacrifices everything to keep family peace, who ends up with nothing because he gave everything so others would be happy. Or I could be someone who respects himself, who protects his future, who says no when something isn't right. I chose the second, and yes, it cost me my family, but I gained something more important. I gained myself. I still don't know what's going to happen. Maybe someday my parents will understand. Maybe not. Maybe Marcus will get a job and grow up. Maybe he'll stay the same. Maybe we'll reconcile in the future, when things cool down. Or maybe this is permanent. Honestly, I don't know, and I'm trying to make peace with that uncertainty. What I do know is that I don't regret protecting my money. I don't regret leaving. I don't regret choosing my future over their unfair demands. And I think that's enough for now.